Another episode of 3D Printing News Unpeeled, thanks to 3dprint.com. And today we learned that the Nigerian oil services firm, RusselSmith Group, has gotten approval from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, the NUPRC, to use PEEK and other materials from Roboze and parts off of the printers from Roboze in oil field operations in Nigeria. So this is really great news because, well, first off, we've been talking about DED and powder bed fusion, even binder jet and oil field operations, but polymer, has really kind of not gotten enough attention, I think, given the potential, and especially in a country like Nigeria, which has extensive oil field operations, a lot of disruptions to those operations. A bunch of them are in areas that are very remote. It's very logistically challenging to get there. A bunch of other ones are offshore, which are also difficult to get to. And also due to a lot of political and other things in Nigeria, actually there's an increased demand for spare parts there as compared to other places. So this is really, really good news. And I think the fact of getting things qualified, getting things approval for things, and being able to use these high temperature printers and materials like PEEK and PEC and other types of materials for these kind of spare parts would really kind of potentially save these companies an awful lot of money. So it's a really, really good case for us, I think. Researchers at the University of Oxford were able to print kind of a neural cell in mice. That's really important. So it's just in mice this time. And these cells that they printed are able to be close to or mimic the functionality to a certain extent of the cerebral cortex cells of the brain. They were implanted into mice brain cells ex vivo, right? And they integrated to a certain extent with the host tissue. That's the progress so far. What we like about this is, first off, is Nature Communications, so that's very prestigious. It'd be very good. It was a really extensive team, including Yongcheng, Ellina, Mikhailova, Ming, Cowley, and a bunch of other people that did this. And they use 3D printing to kind of mimic the structure of these cortical columns. Now, the other thing that I think is really interesting is that they basically didn't use a commercially off-the-shelf available system. They used a droplet-based bioprinter they made, a rather simple one actually, and that could actually be a very obvious 3D printing technology that most people could expand on for this and many other uses. They hope that the people's stem cells will be used to maybe repair themselves in the future. This is very, very far off. They hope in the more near term, they hope for like, more tissue integration type of solutions in that area, and more kind of like testing of drugs, nutrients, and other things on effects for the generation of medicine. But I love this piezo-electric droplet-based system. Not a fully fledged inkjet type system, but a very, very basic piezo-based system. I really, really think this is a wonderful thing that a lot more scientists should work on, and a lot more scientists should work on developing these kind of systems. So the next news comes to us from Finland, and there's a company called CurifyLabs. So there's a couple of companies that right now 3D print medicine, Craft Lab or something like that, or there's a couple of other ones out there. But there hasn't been a lot of attention, especially given the huge amount of potential this has. So there's a company called Curify, and they have made a GMP-compliant ink-based 3D printed medicine printer. They call it the Pharma Kit, and it's meant to make custom drug formulations accessible for hospitals and compounding pharmacies. So this is wonderful because they're working in what they have. This is not some future research machine. This is not some really cool, crazy machine that build the future of everything on. This is meant to be a compounding pharmacy's tool to make custom formulations for certain groups of patients. And this is, of course, where we expect that custom drugs will really, really really, really shine. We're all a different weight. We all have different metabolisms. And maybe in certain instances, it would make sense to give lots and lots of different people different drugs, different chemotherapy drugs, maybe, or certain drugs of another nature might actually make more sense. So it's a great area, a lot of experimentation. There's only about 3 or 4 startups that are active in it. And I think it's a really wonderful thing for them to get involved in with this ink-based system. And it's also a market-ready system. So they're really pitching this as something for the compounding pharmacy or the larger, let's say, university hospital kind of thing. So that, I think, is a very good thing as well. The next news is, well, it comes to us from Lexology and the European Patent Office. So they have did a report called Innovation Trends in Additive Manufacturing, and they looked at all the patent families in 3D printing, IPFs, in the International Patent Family. So between 2013 and 2020, the number of patent families in 3D printing grew by 26%, 8 times faster than any other technology combined, than all other technologies combined, right? Over the same period. 50,000 IPFs have been registered for 3D printing technologies worldwide since 2001. 50,000 patent families. The US is 39% of all these, Europe 32, Japan 13, and the rest of the world is the rest. Of the European countries, it's Germany that has 41%, which is really commanding lead in Europe, if you think about it, and France with 12. So the rest of Europe is really, really very fragmented, if you think about it. Now, this is wonderful. Also, we must know that this is also, it's a response to also a lot of people patenting different things for different applications, for medicine, all this. So they're patenting the use of 3D printing in a particular valve or a watch case or lots of different things. So they're patenting actually the use of technology in certain applications. So think about it in the terms of the internet. Somebody patents the original internet technology or something that refines it, and a lot of people start patenting pet stores or the ability to order pet food via your mobile phone. Those patents, and I think they're very dubious that they grant them in the first place, but these patents really don't add much value. That I'm the first person to figure out that if there's such a thing as websites on the internet, a pet website would be a great thing. That doesn't actually add that much value compared to the first person, her invention making the internet happen in the first place, or the second guy's invention making the internet much faster or something like that. And you have to understand, like the diagram we're looking at is a patent by eBay for essentially like essentially they patent a 3D printing service or some embodiment of a 3D printing service, which also Amazon is patented in a certain way, and a lot of other companies. And there's all these patents that I think add very, very little value. So it's good to know that people are investing in our technology. It's also good to realize that a lot of these things are application based and don't add a lot of value. On top of this, also I think we have to realize this is going to be a risk for us going forward. There's only so many ways to butter a sandwich, is what I always say. There's only so many ways to spread out a material in a layer and then to harden it somehow. And the materials are the liquid is a powder. Usually it could be like a slice of something or like but usually it's those things. And usually you harden it either by heat or chemically or that kind of thing. And it flows at one point and has to harden at another point. So there's only so many ways we can do this. So we might actually at one point find ourselves very stuck. Indeed, apart from the fundamental patents of the technology, let's say powder bed fusion, there's also patents on recoating technology and all these kinds. And people have ring-fenced these patents to say we can only use this kind of material with this kind of implant, and that really does slow progress. I'm all for rewarding inventors. I'm all for rewarding companies that do the heavy lifting to actually commercialize the technology and bring it to market, which is difficult and very, very risky. But I do think that all these application-based patents are really silly. A lot of them are stupid. Like it's like a patent on ordering a file online or pricing a file online. It's a patent of like a consequence of thinking to yourself, 3D printing is going to happen. What does that do? Rather than inventing something fundamentally new. So, but anyway, it's good to know that people are innovating in our space anyway. So, my name is Joris Peels. This is another episode of 3D Printing News Unpeeled. Thanks to 3dprint.com. I hope you found this useful and valuable in some way, and have a great day.